Well, we are just 13 days away from America choosing our next president, and according to the polls, Hillary is in front a bit. Mrs. Clinton has a very slim lead in the very latest Investors Business Daily tracking poll, which last time was very accurate, while the latest CNN poll shows the former Secretary of State ahead by a comfortable margin. However, Donald Trump out on the trail telling his followers don't believe the poll numbers because the system rigged.
The system is corrupt, folks, and I've been saying it, it's rigged. I've been saying it for a long time. The system is rigged. WikiLeaks also shows how John Podesta rigged the polls by oversampling Democrats, a voter suppression technique. And that's happening to me all the time. It's called voter suppression because people will say, oh, gee, Trump's down. Folks, we're winning. We're winning. We're winning.
So does Trump have a point? Here to weigh in is Kelly Riddell, Deputy Opinion Editor at the Washington Times. Kelly, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, what do you make of what he's saying? Is that voter suppression? Mainstream media saying, show's over, go home, don't vote.
Well, I think that there's a lot to that, and you really got to look into these polls to see where the biases are. With the ABC Washington Post poll, which was such a shocker in the fact that that Hillary Clinton was up 12 points, one of the things that they do when they screen out likely voters, they make sure that you voted before, that you're registered, that you know where your polling place is, that you've been following the race and can ask critical questions. This screens out a lot of Trump supporters and the fact that a lot of Trump supporters are first-time voters. They haven't voted before. They're apolitical. The other thing this Washington Post ABC poll did was it oversampled Democrats by 9 points over Republicans. Now, Democrats are usually oversampled by not that wide of a margin, and they also undersampled independents, which you know, late deciding voters usually flip towards the challenger, which would be Donald Trump.
Right, Kelly, we got some examples. Reagan versus Carter in 1980. A week or so before, Carter was actually up by like 8, but then, of course, Ronald Reagan won. And then just in the last election cycle, out in Iowa, Joni Ernst versus Bill Braley, they were tied, and yet she won 52-43. So the polls, you know, it really depends on what the pollster is looking at to get the answer, right?
Exactly right. And so you really got to look at how many Republicans they're polling and how many independents they're polling, and then how they're screening likely voters. With the Investor Business Daily poll, which has Trump, you know, neck and neck or at advantage, how they screen voters is they say, are you going to vote? Are you planning on voting in this election cycle? And then you're brought into the poll. So that might be a more accurate way to see how things are going to come out this November than the extensive screening purposes that ABC does.
Ultimately, we will know 2 weeks from today, because that'll be the day after. All right, Kelly, thank you very much for joining us today from the Washington Times.